What is going on, peeps? Okay, another day, another no dollar, obviously. All right, so let's get into what's going on. A couple of things. First things first. Okay, disclaimer: I am not an attorney, tax advisor, or financial advisor. Please consult with real professionals. The following is my opinion and my opinion only based on my own research. I will share the information that I find with you and encourage you to read or listen to it so that you can form your own opinion. Okie doke. Also, at the end of the video, if you don't mind, please like and share. I don't mind it at all. People ask me all the time if they can share it. I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so because it does help out the channel. Okay, well, that sucked. Okay, so anyways, look, somebody's trying to make a comparison. You know, I didn't, there was no predictions. Nobody made a prediction. I never made a prediction. All right. I never said, oh, there's this prediction. What I said is that somebody had shared some information with you, and despite what the other person who looks like he's been chasing parked cars his whole life, seriously, there's a huge difference between us. I never said that the great God Almighty Himself gave me divine intel and then lied about it. All right. I never did that. What I said is, look, somebody told me this and I shared it with you. And don't get me wrong. And look, I said, well, just in case, and I picked up a few million more Vietnam dongs. But nonetheless, there are some news going on with Vietnam, but not just in Vietnam, but around the world. So look there is a Facebook group with the same name as my YouTube channel. I will leave a link in the description and tell you to come and join us. This group has grown really fast. I almost have 4,000 people, man. It's unbelievable. It's bigger than other people's YouTube channels, but that's neither here nor there. So I'll leave a link for you guys to come and join us and encourage you to do so. You could post your questions in there. There are a lot of knowledgeable people. We would talk about anything from the Iraqi dinar to the Vietnam dong, the Zim dollar even, believe it or not, gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies. Speaking of cryptocurrencies, this usually goes out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but I couldn't help but notice this huge run on cryptos today. Huge. Look at this. Bitcoin is 9,900. It's heading up to 10,000. Even though it shows a little bit red there, but here's what I'm saying. Don't be surprised if you see a little retraction, but not a lot. We have Bitcoin halving coming up in about 6 days. And I told you, in order for miners to continue mining Bitcoin and it be rewarding, it has to be higher than this. It has to be somewhere around the $16,000 mark. Now, will it reach that within this next week? I don't know, but it sure to hell made a good push over the last 3 days. That's for sure. Also, Ethereum is going up. XRP went up almost to 22 cents. I haven't seen that long for quite some time. You can look at where Bitcoin is for the 52-week average. It's past the halfway mark. Ethereum is almost to the halfway mark. And XRP always is way down here. Don't get me wrong. We would love to see it back up to 51 cents. Okay. So what this is the low and a high in the past 52 weeks. Okay. And XLM just continues to just stomp. Just stop. Look at it. Anyways, the 16 cents was high, but it's almost halfway there. Anyways, I just wanted to share this with you real quick because I saw this today and I thought, man, this is a heck of a run that Bitcoin's got going on. And for those of you who are looking to buy into cryptocurrencies, there is a link in my description. I will encourage you guys to go ahead and follow it. Just click it and it will take you to Coinbase. And when you follow that link, it will give you $10 free just for joining. And then once you're aboard, if you scroll down, you'll see one that says earn cryptos. You could click it and earn up to about $150 of free cryptocurrencies just by watching the video for a couple minutes. All right, so what else is going on in Vietnam? So the price of rice is on the rise. All right, try to say that 10 times real drunk. Okay, so anyways, exports prices are rising for rice grown in the Mekong Delta, okay? Since the Prime Minister allowed resumption of exports from May the 1st, prices have risen. So this is good news for Vietnam. Again, the Vietnam situation is not the same as what's going on over there in Iraq. This is different. For me, Vietnam, the more I read and learn about it, the more I'm starting to realize that whole Vietnam and Thailand and Malaysia, all of them over there are definitely for me some long-term investments. If you watch my what's called Stock Watch, you can see I talk about ETFs. These are mutual funds that I think would really grow over the next 5 to 10 years. For those of you interested in setting something up for your grandkids, your kids, whatever you want to do, or maybe you're still young enough where it will matter to you. Okay, so anyways, it goes on to talk about how the cost of rice is starting to go up. This is good, as we know, for all economies. As the coronavirus quarantine lifts, we will see an increase in a lot of the stocks that are out there as people get back to the normal business as usual. Okay, so this is good. More good news for Vietnam. Look, they really are growing. I did this report. I read it. I didn't do it, but I was reading this report, and this person went on, and this dang report was huge, but went on to make this argument about the unbelievable growth of Vietnam over the past 16 years, and it was making some recommendations as far as different industries to keep an eye out as investors, or even encouraging investors to come into Vietnam. Keep in mind, Vietnam just barely got off dirt streets. Okay, so now they're really starting to grow and learn a lot about e-commerce. They're starting to really get out there internationally. I do anticipate a lot of great growth over the next 5 to 15 years in Vietnam. Okay, so come on over here. And what's this talking about here? So, oh, by the way, Vietnam aims to be the major global face mask producer of the world. Well, why wouldn't you? Okay, as we learned during the COVID, how unprepared the people were. It was shocking. So yeah, that's a good niche. If you ask me, in Vietnam, why not them? So Vietnamese companies are manufacturing more non-woven antimicrobial fabrics to reduce reliance on imported materials and to help the country become a major global supplier of cloth and medical masks aimed the pandemic. But what happens if the pandemic's done? Then what? You know what I mean? No, just kidding. We will use it for other things. Because trust me, if you think about all the pandemics or viruses that's broken out over the last 10, 15 years, it seems like once every 2, maybe 3 years, we have some major kind of outbreak, whether it's Ebola, H1N1, bird flu, swine flu, bat flu, Wuhan flu, you flew, who flew, we all flew, okay? So the point is, look, we're going to need masks all the time. So why not grab that niche and run with it and do something with it? Okay, as far as currency manipulators, look at this is an interesting article that came out, and it says a time for currency manipulation truce, especially as Taiwan disclosed its true foreign exchange position. So Taiwan, to avoid getting the penalties, it made its move. But there's 2 other countries that we want to keep a close eye. So it goes on to explain what Taiwan did to keep from being affected by the currency manipulation penalties, okay? But then it goes on down here to talk about 2 other countries that we should really be keeping an eye on. The other 2 countries that also come close to meeting all 3 criteria. Actually, Vietnam not only does it come close, it actually beat and met and exceeded all 3 criteria to be a currency manipulator. So Thailand, look at even Thailand is another one, you guys. So when we keep talking about the Thai baht, that's another currency maybe consider. I don't know if it's going to jump up as much as people think, but my thing is, look, if I, had a dollar bill and someone will offer me, let's say I had $101 bills and somebody want to offer me $1.10 for every dollar. So what? It's $110. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that's $10 you didn't have. I know it's an exaggerated example, but you get the point. So scroll down here to see what it says about Vietnam, because that's the ones that always catch our attention. Okay, let's see here. Okay, with Vietnam, there's no doubt that its intervention far exceeds 2% of the GDP threshold. Vietnam's reserve soared over the course of the 2019, rising by over 18 billion through November, roughly 7% of the GDP, with purchases of 20 billion. If the central bank's December intervention is included, Vietnam's bilateral surplus with the U.S. is now huge. So it easily crosses the thresholds. You can see the little chart here. You can see what they're talking about. In the middle of 2019, Vietnam's current account surplus dipped under 2% GDP, which took it below the needed criteria. So they were back at 2 of the 3 they were violating. So it went from violating 3 to 2 of the 3, and then that didn't last very long but over the second half of 2019, it looks like Vietnam's surplus rose back up over 3% of GDP. There isn't current account for data for quarter 4, not yet. It still hasn't come out, by the way. So this is part of the trade data. So yet, at a time, some flexibility is called for. The Treasury has 2 options on how they could deal with Vietnam. It could argue, as it did in the fall, that Vietnam's reserves are relatively modest, something the IMF noted in the summer of 2019, and thus let Vietnam off in 2019 on the grounds that it still needs more reserves. In normal times, I might quibble with this. Vietnam's reserves now aren't objectively small as relative to the size of their economy. And I'm not a fan of the IMF reserves metrics, and the IMF assessment is at this stage still, I should say, given the size of Vietnam's purchases over the last years. But these aren't normal times. Look, everybody knows that Vietnam has really, really expanded. They're starting to become a really good trade superpower, man. You know what I mean? I mean trade power. Don't get me wrong, not superpower. The second thing to do is the Treasury could exercise the not in the interest of the U.S. clause to avoid formal designation, even if it concludes that Vietnam otherwise meets all three criteria. So what's the bottom line this person's saying? I have long argued that the United States needs to take currency manipulation and other domestic policies that lead to large accounts surpluses by countries other than China more seriously. I agree. But Taiwan made a good faith effort to avoid the designation. That was Taiwan. Okay, and it should be rewarded. The other two cases aren't at all clean cases. There are clearly time for committee and cooperation, not currency wars. No, look, everybody knows how Trump feels about currency manipulations. And he didn't mind Vietnam getting away with this when he was having a trade war with China. And it still continues, by the way. Okay? So how long is he going to let this continue to go? I don't think Trump is that flexible. In lieu of what's going on with the coronavirus, maybe Trump is going to let it go past this next report. But make no doubt about it, once he's reelected, all these countries will change their currencies if they won't do it ahead of time. I think a lot of these people are kind of hoping that Trump doesn't get reelected and things go back to the way they were. All right, so we'll see, but I doubt it. There is some news, though, on Iraqi dinar. We'll talk about it in that video. But for now, this is where we are. It looks like, Vietnam's still one of the worst offenders of currency manipulation. Whether anybody's going to do anything about it anytime soon, we will see. All right, you guys? All right, talk to you later. Bye.